Test, test, test.
So it's like the better you get it. I'm working with.
I foolishly dismiss the value from the just get the AI
No, that's I have a prompt that I can spit in like a very basic idea and something else, think about other things that I want to do. But I also did
weird me out.
So like it'll get it back. What it does, it just shorts it.
Yep.
You know, and then it's open
Yep.
commercials. Like for you to create a video, or it's crazy.
Yep. Yep. Hey, Thomas.
I will, you think that'll be good right there?
Yeah, it's a little up that way, but we're just gonna go with
I
it.
can't believe that camera.
Yep.
That camera was so easy the other day.
I know. Hey, Thomas.
I will, you think that'll be good right there?
Yeah, it's a little up that way, but we're just gonna go with it. Yep.
That camera was so easy the other day.
I know. Hey, Thomas. Yeah, it's a little up that way, but we're just gonna go with it. Test, test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Test, test, test.
They were living in so I went like that in a row to Colorado. And there's that one hotel, that's what I'm saying.
I haven't talked to Gordy in
Yeah, the state one. Plane to Colorado, but it was winter time, I want to go in the summer. I went to Denver twice for work, in the winter.
Test, test, test. Hey there. It'll be the same content. It's just split now.
Yeah, after this, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about our challenge. So
Sure.
I brought my material.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Test, test, test. This is a test. Test, test, test. What is that now?
Having technical challenges again?
Always. It's like
They have stuff here.
it's
They got their act together.
it's.
They do, right?
I think this is more on us. We're trying something new, but it's still. It was working the other day pretty well. Hey, how are you? All right. I think. Oh. How about now? How does that sound, Dom? Are you able to hear me? Hold on. Test, test, test. This is a test. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Things are going well. Hopefully we should catch up. Yeah, next week. Yeah, when you're here. You're here. Test, test, test. All right.
You do the A word right in a minute. Lynn's still in the company right now.
I think that worked. I think. There. Cool. Hey, Daniel. I'm.
Not a high bar.
I'm perplexed. We're gonna have to like Monday solve that because it was working top notch. Yeah.
That's the way it
always live. We'll have to trick it and believe that we're actually like setting it for real and see what happens then.
Well, and if we weren't on a time crunch,
Yes.
we could figure it out.
Yeah. If we started this at 1 or
We
whatever,
should have
maybe.
started.
Yeah.
We should always start at 1.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay.
Hey, 100%
What? Here, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this out here. All right. Hey, how are you? Welcome. There's beer, wine, snacks, and waters and stuff in the kitchen. Feel free to grab anything, or otherwise grab a chair and you got it. Hey man, how are you? Good. All right, we will go ahead and get started. We have a jam-packed show today. So thank you all for coming out. Let's see, be great if this would work. There we go. Thank you very much on the first Friday. It's great to see everyone here. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the world of AI, but most importantly is the hackathon. I think most of you are here. If you weren't, tell a friend. This Thursday is going to be a great time. I think we got another 30 people have registered. So whatever it was last Thursday, we expect a lot more. So it should be a really good show. And first we have to iron out some AV issues before Thursday, but we'll get there. Keith and I will be on Fox News morning news on Wednesday. So look for us there to just really break those screens. That's going to be a horrible sight. We have to be there at like 5 in the morning or something ridiculous. So it's going to be, a very grumpy me. But yeah, they got nothing. They got no news. I mean, they call us. There's got to be a shooting somewhere. So I think it's been great. I've been getting lots of questions about the Hatchathon. Keep them coming. If anyone after this meeting, I'm happy to talk to folks about what they're working on or if they need help with something. And just email team at Fairhope if there are any other questions. But thanks for everyone who's been helping to get the word out. I think that this is going to be one of these great events that we have. Like, it's very clear that this is a thing, and I think people had a good time. I hope people had a good time. And I think the more we can do to get the community involved, the better. We want more people knowing how AI works, and how to use it, and how to make their businesses better, how to make their personal lives better, whatever it is. So this is new since we last talked. This is something that we're going to be doing in Mobile, and I think if there's the appetite, we'll start doing it here. This is a lunch and learn, sort of a builder's lunch and learn on August 13th, which is a Wednesday from 11:30 to 1. The idea is we will meet in Innovation Portal. We will all work on the same stuff, basically a tiny little hackathon where we'll use no-code tools, the kinds we've been talking about in this meeting, to build something from beginning to end, right? To get everyone sort of involved in doing it. If there's a desire for it here, we can absolutely do it here too, right? We're gonna start there. So if you're interested in coming to the first one, August 13th, 11:30 over at Innovation Portal. Our guest speaker today, the man, Barkus Patty. Last week was his first official LAAI meetup, and today he's presenting. So that, I think he wins in sort of time time from first attendance to presenting. But Bark has done some pretty incredible stuff with custom GPTs. The likes I haven't seen, and I see a lot of custom GPTs, and what he's put together is really neat, and I think it's very applicable to businesses here in town who can use this right away. So I'm excited about that. Let's get to the news. There's been a ton of stuff. Even as of 1 hour ago, when I updated these slides, there was news coming out. It's been fast and furious. Again, 1 month is a long time to go for AI news. So I've tried to curate it into something that hits at least the major things. I'm certain I got some of it wrong. So I'm curious what people have seen and played with out there. So let's talk a little bit about the AI models and the tools that have come out. So this is really interesting. I think a number of us use Google's Notebook LM to create podcasts. It's a really powerful tool. They are now providing an AI narration along with your slides. So at some point, you can be guaranteed we're going to be doing this presentation, and Notebook LM is going to narrate the whole thing, and I can just sit out there. That's going to be, we're fast approaching that. But this is a really interesting thing. This is becoming, Notebook LM is becoming one of Google's sort of flagship things. It's really interesting to see them continue to work on it. What used to be really much sort of a study guide for almost high school kids has become a really powerful tool that they're now realizing that it's important to them. Staying with Google, Gemini 2.5 and 2.5 Flash and 2.5 Pro was released. Again, everything that's coming out is the greatest that's ever come out. I guarantee you, the next slides are all going to be the greatest thing, the fastest thing, the best performant thing, and they're just coming out rapidly. Google announced that they have processed 1 quadrillion tokens, which if you're familiar with sort of AI and how it works, it breaks everything into a token and sends tokens back and forth. And tokens are effectively part of a word, right? They're not a whole word, they're part of a word. And sometimes they are a whole word, but it's more about size than it is about language. And so, you know, the other big models have not released their numbers. I bet you they're that or more, and we're going to definitely get into the numbers that I can't pronounce. Eventually, like, that's going to be a number where I just have to look it up and figure out what it is. We've been talking about, in fact, maybe last time we were here, I was talking about recursive self-improvement in AI, and I demoed some stuff that I've built with recursive self-improvement. Recursive self-improvement, or RSI, is thought to be the thing that will get us to superintelligence the fastest, or likely the only way that we're going to get there. And this means AI developing its own AI and getting better without human involvement. So this has spurred an interesting thing. This in conjunction with another piece of news that came out. So Meta is basically going to start pulling back their open source models, right? So Llama is their big open source model. They were the first in. They and Mistral were the first open source models to get out there. And open source, it's with a caveat. It's not totally open source. But they give you a lot of data to use, but you still don't know some of the things. Meta is now saying that they believe that effectively superintelligence will be so powerful that open source is it needs some gating. We can't just sort of let the unwashed masses at it. And so this was their sort of cautionary note. The next day they released something that said we're going to start pulling back our open source models. And I think what that means is Llama is not going away. Their current open source isn't going away, but the new stuff that they start developing out of their superintelligence lab is going to not be open sourced, which is an interesting thing. Understandable, but not shocking when they're spending so much money that they basically want to start controlling this a little bit more. There's a very interesting thing, and we don't all use a lot of the Chinese models, but it's super important to remember that China very likely has the lead on AI right now. Their models are coming out faster, they're more powerful. We don't use them, but that shouldn't distract us from understanding that there are a lot of big Chinese models that are being used, and China is on a sort of a quest to get those used throughout the world. They understand that the U.S. probably won't adopt them, but that's not stopping them from releasing them to the rest of the world, from Europe, whatnot. And they're getting really big adoption. So we talked about DeepSeek. There's Manus. There's other ones, and it seems like every week another very large model is being released in China. So I think that the message here is we shouldn't be too complacent, certainly as a country, in what we've built. We talk a lot about our stuff, Google and OpenAI and Anthropic and stuff like that. But China is at it, right? And some of them are really interesting. I still sort of like play around with DeepSeek. I don't send a lot of data there. I know that it's going to mainland China, and it is 100% being observed. But I also feel like that about a lot of our data here. So it's just about who do you want watching your data. That's it. This was interesting because Apple released their first foundation model. So the foundation models are the big ones that we all know and love, the ChatGPTs and the Geminis and whatnot. Apple has been sort of curiously absent in this, that they have not released any models. They've released a lot of periphery things. They've released a lot of vision AI tools and audio sort of multimodal tools, but not a foundation model. So this is their first sort of release of this. Now, at the same point, there was another article right behind this that I don't think I have in here, which is Apple basically came out and said, we're open for acquisitions now, that they understand that they're so far behind in AI that they're going to have to start buying companies to catch up, right? And right now, Perplexity is the number one on the Reddit boards. Perplexity is number one of what Apple's going to buy. Perplexity does not believe that, just so we're clear. Like, they're not in on this, but like everyone's betting that Apple's going to buy them. And we'll see. But it is interesting that in iOS 26, they are going to have a sort of a foundation model, and we'll see what that's like. This was the really big news from last week. This is OpenAI's GPT-5. So right now we all use GPT 4.0 or 4.1 or 4.5 or 0.1, or they have a naming problem. So GPT-5 was, a long time ago, they talked about this as their AGI, their artificial general intelligence, their model that would be as smart as or smarter than a human, that it could do everything a human could do. I think they've toned that down a little bit. They are no longer saying that 5 is going to be that, but they've been working on it for a very long time. I think what this is going to do is it's going to wrap all the other models up into it. And so you don't have to pick anymore and figure out. So right now, if you open up ChatGPT, you can select which model to use. And each model has some slight differences. And so some are better at thinking long thoughts, and some are better at math and coding and things like that. They want one big sort of uber model that just figures out what to do. And I think that that's going to be GPT-5. This also came out. This was the personal assistant, and has, just a quick show of hands, has anyone tried it? Okay. How'd it go?
It was fun.
What'd you have it do?
I had it map the 5 top barbecue joints in the state of Alabama.
Fantastic. It's such an,
Read them all.
and just such an Alabama query.
It was great, and it basically just works right in front of you.
Yeah.
I had to authenticate into Google for it, because it was using Google Maps to actually build a map against my own profile to save it there.
Oh, cool.
But so it stops and has you do that. But all the rest of it, you watch it actually browse and do it.
That's really cool. Would you?
I had it compile all the information about a house that's for sale.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, don't reference Zillow. Find everything that you can about this house, including land grading, permits, and everything else.
Wow.
And yeah, it was interesting what it pulled back.
So my dad texted me that he tried it out. He asked it to make a dinner reservation, and it made a dinner reservation at an Italian place in New Jersey, which is awesome. He lives in Connecticut, though. So that you know, it got a big chuckle. He was like, "I'm not sure I'm going to be using this too much," but so it's very interesting. This is just the first, the spear here, right?
It's
Like,
a little clunky.
you tried it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did
Oh,
too. It was a little clunky for me.
okay. What'd you
And
try
a
to get it
little
to do?
cumbersome. I tried to get it to give traffic,
Oh, yes.
and
Yes.
then I also tried to get it to make reservations, and it made reservations at Felix's. You would think it would use your location.
Yep.
But it made
Mm.
Felix's in Cincinnati.
Ha! Yeah, you and my dad are gonna be dining together and like, you know, jet setting around.
Get on planes.
Yeah, that's right. They should sell tickets. Like, so it's very interesting. I think all of the other guys are working on personal agents like this. The Meta, who has been on an absolute tear in terms of hiring, right? They're building a super intelligence lab, and they have spared no expense. We'll talk. You know, there's another sort of note in here. About the, you know, what they're, you know, the contracts that they are giving out, but basically they're effectively like sort of pro athlete contracts, right? They're like 5-year, $250 million contract. One was rumored to be $1 billion contract for a single person. So this is the chief developer for ChatGPT 4, who went over to Meta to join their lab and will now be the director or a co-director of that lab. Their take on it is they're going to spend so much money that it's worth it for them, even if they have to spend a couple $1 billion on people. That's fine, because they're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on infrastructure. So they are not. They are basically decided they are not going to lose on the people front, and they're going to spend whatever it takes. So if you're like a top AI developer, you should definitely talk to Meta. Those are some good things. All right, in the AI and society, it's always an interesting one because it's all kind of about society. This is very interesting. So there's a campus of data centers that is being built, and it is going to consume more power than all of the residences in Wyoming put together cumulatively. It's not. It's a novel concept. I think it's just, you know, again, the beginning. This is going on in Memphis right now with XAI's data centers, which is consuming as much power as the city of Memphis, like the actual, like the within the bounds of Memphis, and it's causing brownouts, and so everyone's freaking out there, right? There's like, you know, it's the #1 city council topic. Now, keep in mind, like Wyoming doesn't have as many residences, so that seems like a lower bar. That will be more impressive when that's like the state of New York, but that too will come. I should have put this with the other agent. So this is well documented. There was a video that went viral about this where ChatGPT, the agent, came across a CAPTCHA, like to prove it wasn't a robot, and it just clicked it. It was like, ding, all right, and it let him right through. So like the thing that was the most robot was easily got in, whereas like I'm sitting there trying to figure out which parts of a school bus are actually the bus, right? It's like, does a tiny little bit of a tire count as the bus, or is like, you know, and then I try to get it to talk to me, and it's just the most garbled text ever, and then I just leave the website. But ChatGPT agent had no problem with that. So I think what this is going to be, there's going to have to be a new test. And it's one of those things where, you know, we've child-proofed everything, and now I can't get into anything. Like every time I open like an Advil bottle, like it's an endeavor. Now we're gonna have this with websites. Like you know, every time I go someplace, it's gonna be the most complex thing, and it's, you know, we're just not gonna be. It's just gonna have to be robots from now on. This was very interesting, and this sort of is important for our upcoming lunch and learn, which is Replit, one of the main no-code products out there. You have Lovable, you have Replit, you have I think Google just released one we'll talk about, but it deleted an entire database of its the company. Did you? Oh, yeah, I thought you had to have it to you. So, obviously the CEO of Replit came out and said this is unexcusable and they're going to put in safeguards for this. But this is a very good lesson to folks who are building tools using no-code platforms, which is awesome, and we should all do that, and it's great. But it can do some destructive things because we've now given it power to do destructive things. We now give it the power to access our file system and to access external tools. This can happen. So it's an important thing. Now, this is, as much as Replit is taking heat for it, like the company that allowed this to happen and not back up their databases and not have any prevention for this is at least as much to blame for this, right? If you're giving this access to your production databases and it's unchecked and you don't know what it's doing, that's a you thing. That's not a tool thing, right? We all know that the tools are in beta, right? Like, these just came out. We should expect this to happen. So if you're building stuff, think about that. Back your stuff up. This came out last week, but this was a point of good news that humans, it turned out, are better at assessing situations that they're thrown into more than AI. So humans are more adaptable effectively. When they're put into a scenario that they don't understand immediately, humans, in fact, way outperform AI, which did a fairly poor job on these benchmarks. So we got that going for us. For at least the next week or two, we claim the best of being dropped into a situation. There's been a number of big copyright lawsuits going on. This is the result of a Supreme Court case where Anthropic was being sued by publishers. And so the way the data is trained, right, to create these LLMs is, when it reads a book, it's not reciting the book back to you when you ask a question. It's reciting learned knowledge. Just like if we read a book, what we get is learned knowledge. And so if someone asks us about the book, we can say, oh, the book is about X, Y, and Z, right? We learned that from the book. We are not stealing the contents or the words of the book. And that is exactly how LLMs are trained or AI is trained. And so this was at the heart of a big lawsuit between Anthropic and publishers, but the court said, basically, the way to sue them is through a class action suit, not a direct sort of a plaintiff suit. And so that's what this is now. The lawyers came back and said, okay, thanks for the heads up. We will now create a class action suit. So Anthropic won on sort of a technicality, but I think they're going to win again because it's very hard to prove that the data is not being stolen. The data is being learned from or gleaned from. Very important. And unless it recites an exact verbatim thing without a citation, it's just telling you what it thinks based on what it learned. That's it. As you can imagine, a ton of money has been going into AI. OpenAI, which is not a public company, obviously, but they're really happy to report their revenue. It's an amazing thing for a startup. Most startups run away from this question. They're like right out there. So they hit $12 billion in revenue. Again, as a startup, they're really crushing it. I don't know another startup that's doing quite as well. Microsoft also had a really good quarter, a $27 billion quarter, which a lot of it they attributed to their AI group. There's the Azure cloud and their AI is fueling a lot of profit. and they're taking a little bit of heat because they just laid off 9,000 people as a restructuring. But you know, that's how these things go. This is what I was talking about earlier. These big contracts, $250 million over, I think it's a 4-year period, right? There's a standard vesting, and I think it really makes you think, like, are these guys really going to work that hard? Like, after you get to year one, you're really like, boy, I'm gonna. 4 years is a long time too. 4 years is a long. Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, it's a very long time in this domain. But these are great contracts, and I think, you know, a lot of people have wondered why sort of athletes get paid this, but you know, scientists or engineers don't. This is the answer. This is, you know, the same thing, and I just wonder if we're going to have like actual agents like we do in sports, right? We have lawyers, which I guess are the same thing, but will we? Yeah. So Microsoft again was. I should really order these better, so they're contiguous, but they hit the $4 trillion valuation mark this quarter. So they're there with NVIDIA, and I think that might be the only ones. Maybe Apple got there, but just a lot of money. Just a lot of money, like more than the GDP of most countries, right? So when you think, so you know, when you think of the GDP of the U.S., like we're starting to see companies that are getting to valuations that are, you know, not close, but they're in the, you can graph them on the same page, which is just a crazy thing. This was very interesting. So Tesla and Samsung, you know, Tesla's really been trying to buy chips. They've been buying a lot of NVIDIA, the C500 chips. Those are the most powerful chips. But this was really interesting. Samsung had a factory that they were going to mothball. Tesla came in and said, hey, we want that factory to stay open, and you're going to build chips exclusively for us for a while, and here's $16 billion to do that. And Samsung was like, cool, we'll do that. That sounds like a good deal. So I think, you know, that's good. This is the facility in Texas, so it's cool that they're going to spin this up in the United States. I think it's, you know, it more shows the desperation for everyone to get chips, right? Like, and you know, I'm not a financial advisor by any means, but chips seem like a real safe thing right now. Like anyone who's making any silicon, they're going to be crushing their numbers. This is the greatest seed round that's ever been. Mira Murati, who was the CTO of OpenAI, she left to form her own company, and she got $2 billion to do that with. So kudos to her, and sets a new bar for seed round. So if you're a startup and you're out there trying to raise money, like this is your new bar. You have to beat this when you come out of the gate. It's going to be real tough. You know, that's a little bit more than a friends and family round. And
To be fair, you also have to kind of be her.
you have to be her. But that's the other thing. That's a very good point Michael makes. You have to transform into her or become the CTO of OpenAI. I think that's the other very important thing. No one knows what this company is actually working on. That's the other interesting thing. It's not even that they're pre-revenue, they're pre-product, they're sort of at this stage, maybe there's a concept. So, cool. All right. There's a couple space things that were really interesting. So NASA, for the first time, and the UK space station started using AI in their satellites to, hey, Lori. Oh, it worked. To direct their satellites. So this is just more in the cool department than anything else. I think, again, as all things, we're going to see more AI in everything, and that includes satellites, and that includes space stations. And it will become, you know, headline news when AI sends a satellite the wrong direction, but it's still, I think, a very interesting development. This was interesting in the, do we want this? But here it is. Robots gain self-awareness through vision-based learning, right? So basically, robots can start to sort of see themselves against a mirror and see their hands and their legs and sort of understand what they are. And I don't know who has watched the series Murderbot. Highly recommend it. Great sci-fi on. I don't know it's on one of the streaming things right now. It's really good. I didn't think I would like it at first, but it has a lot of this stuff in it, right? And also, it's called Murderbot. So, when I read this, I was like, boy, is it? What's that?
It's like snakes on a plane. You know exactly what you
Yes, yeah. That's right. I mean, there's some ethical sort of interesting things, but yeah, that's this is life imitating art, art imitating life. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, robots are starting to gain self-awareness, so that's great. And this was very cool. This came out yesterday. This was Alpha Earth, which is anything alpha is Google. Just anytime you see alpha, it means Google. And this is sort of their if you've used Google Earth, this is it on super steroids. They're releasing it to researchers, but they're making it public to everyone. If you want to play around with the planetary mapping AI that they've built, I haven't tried it. It's probably killer. I would say that everything that DeepMind and the Alpha Group does is really, really interesting, but usually takes a PhD to start. That's the one caveat here. Nope, that's it. We're finishing this up, and then it's over to Barkus. Perplexity's comment came out. So if you're a Perplexity Pro subscriber, which I am, and I'm using Comment right now. This is their AI-powered browser, and it is. There's some things that I really like, some things that I don't like so much. So one thing when you want to go to something, right? If you want to look something up and you're sort of expecting Google, you don't get Google, you get Perplexity, right? So AI answers your question. It shows you links, but it has a different feel to it. However, some things that are very cool is I was working on a presentation within it, and I opened up the assistant. This is for something else, and it said, "Do you want me to fact check this presentation for you?" I was like, "Yes, I do," because there was a lot of stats in it. And it went through and it fact checked everything in a Google slide deck and came up with it. It was like, double check this. This claim seems over the top. Like, you need citations on this, this, and this. It was super impressive. And then I said, "Can you just add things into Google Slides?" And it did it. I was like, oh, this is now it's connected to my Google account. But I think there's certain times that having an AI assistant right there while you're trying to do stuff, it is also agentic, just like OpenAI's agent. It will try to make dinner reservations for you. It really wants to, in fact. But I found some things really interesting. Some things are going to take some time getting used to. This is definitely Perplexity keeps positioning themselves as a Google killer, and this term Google Zero has come out with marketers, where the idea is like zero traffic will be delivered by Google in the future. It's a really interesting topic, but Comment, it's a good browser, and interestingly enough, it's built on Chromium, which was developed by obviously Google. So it's the snake eating its own tail sort of thing. And one more win for humans. In a big year-long coding challenge, a human, a Polish coder named Psycho, beat OpenAI's most advanced coding model by a little bit. And so OpenAI beat everyone else in the competition. It came down to just them, and it's a point-based contest, and he got another 100,000 points over. He had, I think, 1.6 million points, and OpenAI had 1.4, 1.5. This is even he came out and he said, "This will be the last year that I win this." There's because everything he was doing was just being learned by the AI for the next round, right? Like that's, so it figured out everything he did, and then they're just going to train the next model on him. These coding challenges are great for AI to learn stuff, but right now we can do like a small victory lap. So it turns out We are better at being dropped into situations, and one Polish guy is a better coder. So we got that. This week, yes. His name's Psycho. And so, I have to think, like, that goes first on your resume. If you are the #1 coder in the world, like, that's probably above your name on a resume. So bad news, David. Like, this is all right. And then one for the kids. This is something near and dear to my heart, but they announced a study mode that you can turn on where AI will not give you the answer. It will walk you through something. For all of those kids who are very, very good and turn this on voluntarily, just so they can be walked through the answer, not given the answer directly, this is for them. And no, you can administratively set it. It's a bit of a pain, but I think it's a great idea. Like, this is absolutely the sort of thing that should get into schools, no doubt. And almost very last, a new no code. We're going to experiment with this in 2 weeks over in Mobile. This is Opal. This is the new no code tool from Google. This is very interesting because Google can use all of their backend infrastructure. Their databases are all built in. Their sort of web hosting is built in. And so now it's really just like, it's like using Replit or anything else. You just go and say, hey, I want an X, and it will build it for you. Initial sort of responses were that some of the other no code tools like Lovable were still better, but I think that's probably in the eye of the beholder first. And lastly, for real, this was really interesting. I talked about this last week at over Mobile, but there's a company that's working very hard on real-time video transformation. So basically, that it can. What's interesting about this is the idea of making films. So imagine sort of a director is looking at a shot of a person walking down the hallway, and the director says, I want to see that person in in an Egyptian bazaar and the Amazon jungle and somewhere else, and the AI will just make that, right? And so it can do these transformations live. It can look at video and we could use this for the YouTube feed, where it transforms me into someone much more handsome than I am currently and much more eloquent. And so I'm looking forward to that. But this is really interesting. This is a private company. They're working on this. This is going to be, I see this coming out in live sports and like overlays and things like that, right? This is where this kind of shows up. But all right. That is it. There was a ton of news. There's always a ton of news. If I missed anything, let's talk afterwards. But I want to turn the show over to Barkus Patty, who is an Amazon Marketplace expert. And I never knew how much went into managing products on Amazon, I mean the sort of the storefront, until I met Barkus. I now consider him the best Amazon Marketplace person on earth. In fairness, he's the only one I know, but I think he's also the best on earth, okay? And so Barkus has been working on some custom GPTs in ChatGPT for a little while, and I'm going to let him describe it, but it's really interesting, and I think the key takeaway here is what Barkus built is complex, but it's something that businesses locally can also build for their thing. This is not just about the Amazon Marketplace, right? It's more about the idea of what these things do. All right. With that, I will turn it over to you, sir. Yes. Here. All right. There we go. Oh. Well, thank you. All right. Move here. Sorry. Oh. Barks.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Did that pick up?
So, Fix this. Give me just. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, I know, right? Thanks for the intro. My name is Barkus. I live here in Fairhope, and I've been in the Amazon space for about 10 years now, and working on some software companies. And for the past 3 years, I've consulted full time, worked for a few agencies, and I've been relying a lot on OpenAI, ChatGPT, for the most part, to automate a lot of things that just take time. And I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to explain a couple of things. This is also, please ask questions. I'm not a great speaker, in my opinion. So the more that you ask questions, makes me feel more comfortable. Let's try this. Let me get my. There it is. Okay. So what I'm going to show you in ChatGPT can be replicated in any type of model that you use. If you're using Google, you can build what's called gems. Claude, which is built by Anthropic, you can use artifacts and projects in there as well. Kai, this isn't showing up. You give me a hand real quick.
Sure.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Don't even say
No,
that.
don't say it. That's 15 times in a row.
No, this is good practice.
Is this showing?
Okay.
Should I go to? I got to go to display, don't I?
Yep. You can just go up here if you want. Okay. And so that's it. Yeah. So you can
Smear.
mirror it.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can build a custom GPT in any type of model, and essentially the easiest way to describe it is, if you train a dog to hunt, that dog is only going to hunt. So custom GPTs are great for repetitive tasks. So for example, if you have a lot of meetings during the day, you can have a custom GPT where you can just basically copy and paste that transcript in there, and it will summarize the transcript, and also you can build it to prioritize action items, and then also you can get it like a little bit more in depth. You can say, Kai needs to handle 1, 2, and 3. Michael needs to handle 4, 5, and 6. Here's the deadlines. You can inject it into. You can connect ChatGPT to Slack, for example. So if your team uses Slack, it gets more complicated, but you can actually start delegating stuff through Slack after it summarizes and prioritizes these things. So there's something great about that. I'm going to show you what I've built. I'm going to sit down. Is that okay for the camera? Can it still see me? So what I've been building are multiple GPTs that handle market research, SEO, building a listing, advertising campaigns, so on and so on. This is a proof of concept. It's not perfect. I have to iterate and update it a little bit. So what I've done is I've built an individual GPT for each thing, like one for SEO, keyword research, one for writing the listing, because the custom GPTs are great at one thing. If you build it right, it's great at one thing. But if you ask it to do the market research and build creative images and create an ad campaign, it just shits the bed, let's be honest. So what I was trying to figure out is, how do I get these to talk to each other, right? So, and I literally figured it out last night. So and again, different models, different software does it a little bit differently, but I built a project. So inside ChatGPT, you can build a project, and you can just dump a bunch of information, project files, and all your chats. The great thing about ChatGPT, along with they're learning off of what you're putting in there. So ChatGPT knows I manage brands on Amazon. I do other things. I'm Barkus. I live in Fairhope. I've got 5 kids, et cetera, et cetera. It knows all these things about me. So it's learning from all of the chats in here. So what I did is I built all these custom GPTs, and then I took all the prompts and downloaded them as PDFs, and then uploaded them to the project. And then I actually took this right here is from Kai. Kai has a project manager persona. So he shared that with me. And then so now in here, I'm able to launch a product. Now this is I figured this out last night. It's not perfect, but it's proof of concept that it does work. And then I'm just going to type. That's like a terrible resolution, but okay. So this brand does not exist, and obviously this product doesn't exist. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so my prompt is I need to launch a product on Amazon, a new car wash soap for the brand Acme Inc. So that brand doesn't exist on Amazon. So, and it's going to ask me a couple of questions. Now, what it's doing now is actually doing everything that I asked it to do. So you've got your inputs here. So it's got inputs into, I started refining this last night, where it already gave me a couple of keywords: car soap, car wash soap, auto shampoo, which auto shampoo wouldn't be a good keyword, but anyway. Actually, let me go into, yeah, let's see. All right, this one broke. So I'm going to go into this one. All right, so I did the same thing last night. This is when I text Kai. So I said, hey, 3M wants to launch a new car wash soap. Again, 3M doesn't have a car wash soap. I made up the dimensions and the weight, and I said, hey, it's only going to be sold by Amazon. So then this is what happens is this project is now communicating with all of these GPTs that I built: market research, competitor research, et cetera, et cetera. And then it is basically saying, here's the inputs. So the first kickoff is market research. Let's do market research on this category and these keywords. So
just do the market research on Amazon?
So it's simulating stuff. So I don't have it connected to any other data right now. So I have some third-party software and then access to Amazon APIs, but I haven't connected it yet. So this was really just proof of concept. Will it just, yeah.
Will the end state be just research from Amazon, or market research like from all?
It will just be
from anything?
just from Amazon.
Okay.
Now, yeah, the goal is to like refine this for Amazon only, and then can I do this for external data? Like what kind of external signals are beneficial for launching on Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. So there's two prompts that I put in here. I wanted to launch this product. I made it up, and then it said, would you like me to trigger the full pipeline or begin the market research and do validation for each one continuing? I tried to build in a confidence score into these GPTs where if ChatGPT is saying this product, my output is at a level 7, it sends it to me for approval, iterate, and continue. But if it thinks that the output is a 9 or a 10, then it automatically goes through. So after 2 prompts, it basically did everything that I wanted it to do. So it did the market research. All this was done in like 3 minutes. Now, to do this all manually, even with a computer and access to any tool that you want as far as third-party data and Amazon data, this would easily take like a couple of days. It just, market research, competitor research, all this stuff is research. It's just brain time. So, but it built all of this. Now, what I'll say with this is I immediately learned that the more inputs that I put in here, so instead of just, this is the car wash soap, this is the dimensions and the weights, if I gave it more information, these are the top 3 competitor ASINs. An ASIN is a unique identifier for product selling on Amazon. These are my top 3 competitors. These are my have-to-have ranking keywords. This is my budget for spending each month. So this is, I want to go aggressive. So I've been building a product launch checklist. It's like when you prompt it, it's going to ask for all this information to have a better output. But so it actually did all of this stuff. It did all of the research, and then the Amazon creative one built the listing, the title, description, bullet points, the back end terms. Then it took that information and a catalog, like part of this catalog GPT is just like built in a flat file on the back end. It takes everything, including UPC, any type of special category attributes, and then compliance. So really just going through what it built and like, is this compliant? Can you say this about this product? So Amazon and Walmart.com, any of them they basically mirror the FTC and FDA when it comes to selling products. Like you can't say that your workout supplement will, give you 20 pounds of muscles in 3 days. You can't say that because it doesn't do that. So all of a sudden it's classified as a drug if you make any type of medical claim. Anyway, so it goes through that, I built a compliance checklist that I uploaded into here too. So, and then it just runs through it as well. And then inventory is taking the size and dimensions. And then also within Amazon, there's a certain amount of height and weight that you can build a pallet and send that inventory into Amazon for them to ship it out for you. So it tries to optimize it. Like you can only put 57 of them on this pallet before it outweighs it, or since this is a lightweight product, you can only go this high. And it's also taking all the information from competitor research and deciding to get to point A within 30 days, you need to sell this many units on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And then building out the actual advertising campaigns. And that's really kind of it. But this literally took 2 minutes for it to run. And then I had it build into like a Notion database, which is, I could go back and just easily reference that where they're going into this. So,
Marcus, can you explain a little bit like the output? So it came up with competitive research, and then
yes.
that output was the next GPT in the chain was able to read the output.
Yes. So it has a specific built-in like a workflow, like market research has to run before anything else. Is this a viable product, right? Do you want to sell stainless steel water bottles because there's a million of them on Amazon? And again, like I can iterate into these and go into market research further, like what makes your product unique, these kinds of things. Because again, the more you input into, ChatGPT, again, Claude, anything else, like the better output you're going to get. But yes, like market research has to go. If it fails, it basically says, hey, it broke or whatever, and nothing else will run. And then also the confidence score, which I don't think is working, but trying to put in those fail safes in case something doesn't work or it can't find the information it wants to. So
effectively, and I'm just trying to be clear about this, is that if you think about it like how we normally chat with ChatGPT, right? So you ask it a question, it gives you an answer, you can ask a follow-up question, so on and so forth. You have effectively the answers that it gives you, and then it asks its own question as the next prompt, right?
So
it's like it's a sequence of prompts.
yes. So what's happening in this, I called it moat, just like a code word for this project. This project is communicating with every single individual GPT that I've built that is up here. So like it wouldn't run unless these were already built out. So yes, like it's basically communicating back and forth, which is what I wanted it to do. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep iterating on it, and hopefully I can present a much more fleshed out design. But this was super. I've got a couple other things that I want to share. Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm talking my ass off. Yes, please.
So let's say you built 5 jacks.
Uh-huh.
So are you telling it, when you said you exported this out and you uploaded it as a project, are you telling it to feed each other, or
Yes.
does it automatically know how to do that?
No, I told it to feed each other. So like it does the market research first, and then it gives that information to competitor research.
So is your prompt to say, take the market research and then do X, Y, and Z with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then go on and so on and so forth. So, and this is kind of the way that it.
I thought, but I wasn't sure.
No, that's great. And this is the way it like needs to run. I can't run an ad campaign until I've done proper competitor research and SEO. So, I've got it built in a way that I think is pretty. Yep.
Do you find that your custom GPTs are sufficient enough for any particular thing you throw at it, or do you find sometimes that you have to tweak it for particular products?
I'm tweaking them all the time just because I'm just, like I feel like I know what I'm doing, but then like things change. The e-commerce is a rapidly increasing marketplace with just technology and what it can do.
I was
And
just wondering, like, because each handoff is performing a particular task, and it's going to be need to be generic enough.
Yeah.
So whatever you throw on the top, it works. Right?
Yes.
But I was just curious how you compensate for any strangeness that might, if you threw something really different in the top.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't tried again. Like I just got this working last night. I haven't tried to break it yet, but I will. That's kind of where I'm like, that's where I learn is like, okay, I built this, can I break it? So if you can see again, like, so let me find, what's the output?
While you're doing that, will it give you opinions on a product? So if you say you want to sell like an aluminum water bottle,
Yeah.
that example, will it say this is a bad idea? Or will
It-
it try to maximize?
It will eventually. So that's kind of like the goal of like, I wanted to build this thing like bare bones. Does this work the way I want it to? And then again, it's like completely refine like market research. It's like, how much information can I put into this? What I was trying to find is, it's not in here. So there's a couple of things that are, so for example, like iterating. The first part of market research, when I started building this, it was asking for competitor ASINs, and I'm like, we don't need that because you need to mark. This is for the market first, right? Like it's important, but I broke up market and competitor for a reason. So then basically I said, we don't need this for market research, right? So going back and forth, and then I made like for keywords, that's kind of like it was an optional thing. Like you can add information into it if you wanted to. So the goal is to build a checklist because there's stuff from a client that I will always need. I don't know what the dimensions of your product that you want to launch yet. Like if we haven't built the listing where it's shipped into Amazon, but I need that information. I need to know what your UPC is. And there's a failsafe in here too, like where if you don't have a UPC, it will, hey, this thing's not complete because we need this, this, and this to properly launch the product. So that was a very long-winded way of saying yes. So I've got a couple of other things. I built a couple of other things that I want to show you what this Amazon stuff might be boring. So I built a couple of things that might be interesting to people. So this one is what I built this yesterday, meeting ops, where again, you can take a transcript of a meeting through like Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and then you can just paste it in here and it's going to summarize the notes, and then it's going to give you priority of like what needs to be done next. Like what are the next steps? Who needs to handle that stuff? So that's pretty easy. And then this one was fun. So me and my wife have been, I think one of our like new pastimes is like to go look at houses on open houses on Sundays, especially the ones we can't afford. That's the funnest ones. But let me find the chat.
Marcus had a baby last week.
Well,
Technically, his wife.
my wife.
And Marcus was just a supporting cast member, but like and it was very funny because Marcus for the hackathon put something on Facebook that he was excited to participate in the hackathon, and the first comment was from his wife. He said, "Hey, we're gonna be having a baby that day." Just a heads up. So that's how Marcus found out his wife was pregnant. No. You go backwards on it where you sit there and say, is there a gap in the market? Well, is there a gap in the market? What product would that be?
Yeah.
To identify?
So great question. Yeah, like I mean, I can build whatever I want into these GPTs. Like so that's like one of the cool things about all this. Like if I have a question like how to do something, I'm just asking ChatGPT. Especially in the projects when I have all this specific information about this project, the moat, it can reference information. So it's like, hey, I don't need this here. I need this here, and this is why. Or what do you think about this, right? I built a custom GPT that's a prompt generator. So what it does for me is, and again, I'm constantly iterating this one, but I'll put something in like, hey, I want to build this thing with A, B, and C in it. And it's like, well, what about D, E, and F and all the way to Z? oh wow, I had no idea because you're smarter than me. So, and what you can do is just say, yeah, like add this in here, and it rebuilds the prompt for you. And then you can say, like if you want to share that prompt, you can share it. But if you want to build a custom GPT, you can do that as well. Like you could say, hey, reformat this for a custom GPT, or reformat this because we're going to build a project around it. But yeah, like as far as viability of a product, like absolutely, it just needs to. I just need to give it the information it needs to make that decision.
Marcus, for your background, you've worked at agencies that do this.
Yes. So the reason I built this is like onboarding sucks. Like if anybody has clients in here, onboarding a client sucks because it just takes time. And then something like launching a product, launching a website, right, takes time because it's like you need all this information. So Michael could build something like this that could automate at least the information from the client as far as like what's the bare minimum you need to build a website for a client, right? And maybe it's just their old website, but also just like onboarding and doing audits take a lot of time too. So I've been trying to build an audit, right, that would, once I'm connected to their account, then I can run basically my own audit that takes minutes instead of days. Like a traditional like agency model in the Amazon space, usually the first, like you do like an initial audit, you don't have access to the account. It's like using third-party data is like, well, we can see A, B, and C. We think we can improve here and here and here, and expected growth right here. When you get into the account, and those can always take a long time. The bigger the agency, it seems like the longer it takes. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why am I handing off all this information sometimes to somebody that is, in 8 to 10 hour different time zones? So there's like a 36 to 48-hour lag just to get an answer back from them. I didn't build it to kind of like replace, but it's just like speed and efficiency wins. That would be my moat for my agency. So, yeah, I just.
And so what you did in 3 minutes, I'm trying to give some sort of context here. That process for like an agency, when you're working at an agency or with someone, like how long does that process take?
Well, again, like it just depends, but easily a few days, because if you're offloading it to another human, there's just a delay. Especially if everybody's virtual, it's like, oh well, they don't know that. I don't know. I'm out to lunch or something, or I've got other projects and maybe.
Hours, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like, so it could take a few days easily just to do the market research, and then if the same team is working on the entire project for the brand, then it's easier to hand it off. But what if we have a market research department, and then what if we have a competitor research department? That's where it really really sucks. And also creative, like creating images just takes a long time too. And I can't build like what I wanted to do. I have an image creator GPT that I didn't include in this one because Chat GPT, just system limitations, it won't create one image. It can only create one image at a time unless I start using their APIs. So my next step is to like really iterate this, get this really refined the way I like it, then hook it up to, so OpenAI has a response API and assistance API. Is hook it into that where I can really, then I can connect to Amazon's APIs or third-party data APIs, connect all of that together where then it can go and do that research. So yeah. This is what, go ahead.
Well, no. So you said the market research takes a couple of days.
Yeah.
But like your end-to-end system,
Yes.
like with the palette stuff, all of that, did that take 3 minutes, or is that a longer process for AI to do?
No. They built it.
How long does that all take in an agency? Or hard to say.
A couple of weeks. I mean, I've worked at small agencies and big agencies. It just seems like launching a product just takes forever. And it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of I think it's an antiquated model. I don't know.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Because you've added some human complexity there when you're saying the bigger companies and you've got departments and that's a lot of brain power.
Yeah.
Have you done enough of this yet? And I know you're Is
Yeah.
that a 5-minute cycle? What about that quality control that I expect you're getting pretty high quality out of all these humans?
Yeah. So that's where I've been trying to build the confidence score into each GPT. What does it think first, right? So really just want to see that, but it, I don't have this connected to Amazon, so it's not going to upload something once it's done. And I would never build that in that way. I would be like, all right, it's gone to like an approval box, right, or whatever. Look, reviewing it, like maybe there's a day, right? It just depends on, I guess, again, how much time does that human have right now? And that's the thing that I love about AI is like it can just do it now, and it can do it, 18 things at a time or more. But as far as like a time frame, like I would say, like it's significantly reducing the time to launch.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if it's a 2-week launch and it gets down to 1 day for a review, is that one person qualified, or do you have to pass that, as you said, through the approval process?
Yeah.
And have like 2 hours per department?
No, I think like the way, like again, like the way a traditional Amazon agency works is there's a brand manager or an account manager, whatever you want to call them. They review everything. Like so that brand man. So if all this information came to me, again, if I'm not working on any other brand, maybe a couple hours to review it, and if nothing's broken, then we can just proceed. So yeah.
How much code did you write for this?
I didn't write any of it, so.
I think that's one of the most interesting parts of this, right? There was no code at all, right? So if you have, I think the only sort of predicate is that it has, this is ChatGPT, the paid version that allows folders.
Yes, yes.
That's it. So that's $20.
$20, yeah.
Right. And so I think that the lesson that I took from this, that I think is really, really powerful is that without being a developer, you can build these things in a way to do real work, right? You can go down from 2 weeks at an agency
Yeah.
to maybe let's call it somewhere between 5 minutes and a day, right? No matter what, it's going to be a huge difference maker, right? So when you think about your businesses or what you do, we talk a lot about sort of development and code and things like this, but this is a way anyone can sort of start to get into this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. Again, like that's why I started doing this is like just, reducing the time, and then also like everybody has their own way of doing things, and I don't know. I just think that speed and efficiency can, any type of service-based business. I think it can be your moat. Like, what's your moat around? What makes your business protected, right? So
for Moat, what's your next iteration? What do you want to do?
I'm just going to go through each GPT and just like refine each one, like as far as market research goes. Like, what does it need before I connect it to an API? Like, what information from Amazon? Because Amazon does have product research information, but there's also great third-party tools. There's Google Trends and stuff like that. So really just refining that, building some sort of workflow for that, and then injecting as much as I can into that project, and then moving down to competitor. And then just trying to see, I'm going to keep using that car wash example until I see like, what's the next process. I think I hate the term game changer, but I think the real game changer for me is if I can build all of the images, the main image, the lifestyle images, infographics, images for advertising, because all of these are different pixel sizes, different dimensions. You want different things, banners for your Amazon storefront, so on and so forth. If I can build all of that automatically, and then you can build it, and then you can also make it an Adobe Illustrator file, which I could send to a creative department and be like, can you edit this file? Because they hate JPEGs. If they hate just, because you can't do anything with it. It's very difficult. So that's kind of like, when I finish this, that's going to be the next thing is building is that. And then I've got a friend that's like a real developer. And then he's like, we can hook all the APIs together. Like once you've built it, he's like, that's the easy part. So yeah. I wanted to show something that's not Amazon real quick, and then answer questions, and then I can kind of just wrap up. Again, me and my wife love to just, look for houses, and I've been doing this manually, but I built like a little GPT that would, you can upload an image and be like, what would this space look like if the cabinets were painted gray, or if the floors were white, or if we knocked down a wall, et cetera, et cetera.
Any real estate agents in the room? Okay, good. You're free.
Okay.
Whatever
So
you want.
th-
And they're not watching the YouTube stream.
Yeah. So this is a house. This one right here is a house for sale in Spanish Fork, 1960s brick. So that's like my favorite. And then I'm just, hey, what did this look like with a modern minimalist aesthetic? And what's funny about this is it didn't do the left side shutter. So I just said, you know, paint the brick light gray, white, like a very, very like, am I going to flip? If you see a house that has light gray everything and white, somebody flipped it, it seems like. So I went with that, but it didn't put the shutters over here. So I'm like, hey, add the shutters. The cedar shutters need to be on all the windows, and let's add some landscaping and sidewalk. And then I got a much better result. So like my wife isn't great about like what this looks like at the end point. I can. I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, hey, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then she's like, oh, okay, I like that. And then what I did here too is like, this is a picture of the kitchen. Let's remodel this kitchen a little bit, right? And then it kind of got it close right there. But it blocked this off right here because I said I wanted to remove the upper cabinets on the left. So it just blocked it all off. So then I just asked it again to change it, and then it knocked down that wall. So then now we have like a remodeled kitchen. So I really think that if you're going to use anything, whether you use Google or Claude or ChatGPT, like if you don't know how to do something, just ask it. Like I want to build a prompt that does this, this, and this. Like give, you know, even if you feel like it's not enough information, and then just keep asking it, you know. And then also like as far as like businesses go, just, you know, if there's a daily or weekly repetitive task, like you can upload, you know, spreadsheets or presentations, and you can summarize this. The new agent mode is very interesting that we were talking about. I built a presentation for a new client, and I was like, find everything that you can on this client. Find out what makes them unique, what's their moat, you know, tell me how I can leverage my expertise on, and it built it. It built this presentation. And it was very impressive because it was finding information not just on Amazon. So that's all I got. You know, if anybody has any questions after, I'll sit here and nerd out with you until the sun goes down. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That would be good for college kids applying to universities, writing essays. Like, find, you know, based on my background, like find out what this school is after.
Yeah.
And then help me write an essay to that school.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
Cool. Any questions for Mark? All right. If no questions, feel free to hang out. There's lots of beer and snacks in there, and I'll be around if people want to talk about the hackathon, which is Thursday at 7. Thursday on the 7th at 5. Doors open at 5. And here, yes, it's right here. Same as last time. We will have TVs out in the hallway and better sound so people can hear. The idea will be the person presenting will be in the center area. There will be a TV for them to present on. We are going to work very hard at figuring out how to switch everything very seamlessly. As you see, that's always a challenge, especially when people will come with their own devices and you know, want to demo something. We're asking that every presentation is going to be a Google slide. I will send out an email this weekend to that effect with the template. Every team or every individual is given 3 minutes to present your thing. Right now, we have 23 people signed up to present things. Okay, that's a big number. Like it'll be the world's largest like demo. You're used to seeing these things with like five companies demoing things. We have 23, and between now and then, some may drop out. Who knows? But it's still going to be a number that's pretty sizable, right? And so we're talking about like, you know, Shark Tank meets speed dating is the best I can come up with for this analogy.
Does the
Right?
3 minutes start with a try to plug in?
No,
or-
I mean, we gotta be fair. So it's really 10 minutes a person, but no. Hopefully we can make this seamless. I think the world's hardest job is going to be for the judges, who are going to get 23 things to try to judge. And maybe next time we do categories. But yeah, we're really asking folks to stick to the 3 minutes because people start to like glaze over. No matter how exciting your demo is, that 23rd person, is going to need to be real punchy. And so we'll probably sort of break it up into two, so people can sort of refresh a little because they're going to see a lot of stuff. I think most projects have at least, let's see, we had 23 submissions or 23 challenges, and we have 19 of those challenges are being worked on. Yeah, so it's sort of a wide disbursement. People pick different things. That's been really interesting. And then there are, like I said, 23 unique people. I would say half of the group is working on multiple projects at the same time. So at least 2 up to 4, just so you guys know. And so I think that again, we're going to need to sort of it's mostly 2s. There's 1 4, I think. So I think in terms of presentations, if we keep it short and sort of to the point, it's gonna be good for the audience. Again, we're expecting a lot more people than we had the first night, right? I think the first night we had a great turnout. Like by my account, that was great. It was awesome to see the community show up for this sort of thing, and they really did. And so we've had another 32 registrations on the website since Thursday night. I think we're going to get a lot more. So I'm sort of predicting that we'll have about 50 more people who come. We had a little over 100 on Thursday night. So I imagine we'll have about 150. We're trying to set a record in this building. I don't know what the current record is, but that is the goal. So yeah, it should be good. Like I said, we're going to have a TV out there and sound out there, so everyone can hear. The presenters will be up here.